So we're doing something completely different. Normally we're standing beside an EV charger, or I'm in somebody's basement with a battery. We're here at Black Creek Pioneer Village, and we're here in the schoolhouse from, I think, 1861. I'm here with Rachel Marmer. Rachel is my daughter-in-law, and Rachel and I don't need masks here because Rachel and I are in the same bubble, so we're okay to talk and be close to each other. And Rachel is working on something very interesting, something that I think is got a possibility for sort of a change in society, a bit future focused, and that kind of future focused thing fits in perfectly with what we do at Signature Electric. So I'm just going to let Rachel kind of explain how you got started with it and tell us, and we'll just explore and have a little conversation about it because we talk kind of every day about this.
Thank you so much for having me with you, Mark, father-in-law. Back to school is around the corner, and with all the planning going on or lack thereof, and all the concerns around health and well-being of our children and back to school, I thought that I might be keeping my kids home for the year. I went to social media to find some fellow moms and dads to join me in my journey of, homeschooling this year. The response was tremendous. It's become a group of over 10,000 people now in about a month and a bit. So it's growing rapidly, and we're all navigating the terrain together.
Tell us, because you didn't say it, I'm going to look for you on Facebook. I want to know how to connect to this interesting thing that you're doing, but you didn't tell me the name, so I don't know what to do.
Sure, so you can find us on Learning Pods Canada on Facebook, and you could check out our website at learningpodcanada.ca. To check us out.
I know that there's been a lot of discussion in the news about how these learning pods are going to work. So what was your original intention when you sort of set up the website in terms of how these were going to work, or what were you hoping to do here for everybody? What was the overall original intention?
When I originally put out the post, people started messaging me from like Milton or Bradford or Barrie or different areas in Toronto, being like, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, just telling me their life stories and being like, do you want a pod? And I was like, I don't have a home big enough for all of you. So I thought, you know what, I'll start keeping track of some of the people coming through, and I'll try to make some matches, and I'll just try and help people out. And then once it hit like 100 or something, I was like, okay, I put together a survey taking into account all the factors that I know that I'm looking for as a parent in finding the right podding partners. Because there's different podding streams you could take, different durations. There's so many different factors that families are looking for. So it's complicated just to find the right families to match with. So initially I'd set out to just help people find their appropriate matches. And then there's the teacher portion, a lot of teachers messaging, being like, I'd love to work in a pod. And parents being like, I need help finding a teacher for my pod. And as we go and as we grow, we realize there's another need and another need and another need. So just trying to fill them all, gather all the information, figure out what people need, finding the appropriate people that can meet those needs, and mobilizing quickly to get things done because we're on a time crunch and school's around the corner. So we got a big team and we're doing a lot of things.
I guess what really got me sort of worked up, and we've been talking the last few days about it, is somehow when I see you talking in the media, and this is a pretty regular thing, that it's sort of turned to be some kind of rich and poor. That's the way the media is talking about it, that only the wealthy people can afford to do this. And I understand that there is a concern, that there's a cost involved, and there is some difficulty. But I think that from my own perspective, we have a moment in time now where these pods are going to happen. People always could have had homeschooling. It's nothing new. It's just going to happen. Now that you're a spokesperson, now that you're really the head of these thousands of people across Canada, you have a chance to talk about what you would want in addition to just making these connections and helping people out. Maybe you could have the ear of our government. Give me a feel about what you think government's involvement has been, what you'd like it to be. Is there something you'd want from the government to assist? I think maybe to try to get the ear of the government.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's a loaded question for sure. What I would want from the government, what Canadians, what parents, what schools want from our government right now. It's a big question. There's a lot that we could say. And on that note, knowing that there are so many things that our leaders have to consider right now, one ask that I think is necessary, appropriate, reasonable, attainable from our leaders that they could do to really help make this possible and accessible. There are some laws, there are some legislations right now that prohibit us forming pods in groups larger than 5, which again touches on your point about accessibility and cost factor, because there are myriad costs. An educator and a space that could be unaffordable for some people. I recognize that. So my ask to our leaders would be to change the arbitrary number of 4 children to maybe something like 6 or 8, possibly 10, again, falling within health guidelines of numbers that are appropriate, so that larger groups of kids could come together in smaller settings and split the cost among more people. I think that would be practical and reasonable on a number of levels, and as well, it would cost our government $0, which I think they would like. So that would be my suggestion. That's what I'd love to see. And like we've talked about before, this is very possibly going to be integrated into the new way that things are. We have evolved in the way that we work in the workforce. We've evolved in the way that we communicate with one another. Our city, our province has been evolving in a lot of ways with the bike lane. I mean, I could go on, right? So why should we hold back with education? Why? Our kids are the most important thing. And so I feel like this needs to evolve along with us. So that's what I'd like to see, right? And it can work in tandem. It doesn't need to be in competition with our schools and with their budgets. It could all work in tandem. So that's what I'd like to see.
No, I think that sounds to me very reasonable. I'm wondering if the government said, okay, well, we're in a specific time, if I gave you a time frame. How about if we just gave you a year or till next September? Do you think the group would be happy with that if there was a time frame put on it?
I think the group would be happy either way. I mean, if we got something, even if it had a time frame, I would personally be happy, because I know there were possibly some recent changes made to legislation where they have made note that they're going to be enforcing fines right now instead of stepping back and saying, we realize that you guys are in a tight spot, we're not going to enforce fines. They're taking the approach of cracking down on parents. So yeah, if they said, you know what, we're gonna release this regulation for a year, I think that would be great, and then we could revisit. I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I think I hadn't heard about this punitive situation, and I'm hoping that's the first I've really heard about it. I haven't seen too much in the news, and I'm hoping that that's not the case. I mean, it seems the opposite way that we should be going. And a moment to embrace in time. Something that seems possible and reasonable, that's going to happen anyways, and that to me clearly is echoing the wishes of Canadians and Ontarians. We're in Ontario here, because the Canadians and Ontarians, these are voters, and these are the people that the government is supposed to be serving. You know what? I just want to thank you so much for finding time, even for me lately. Just getting to call you sometimes is a bit of a trick. You become. I have to tune in on TV to find you. And from my perspective, I'm proud of you, and I'm glad that you're doing this. But I want to thank you for the 10,000 people that are on your Facebook page, and maybe the other 10,000 spouses that those people have, and the grandparents that are concerned about their education, and the kids. These are all people in Canada. And you are helping to do something in a way that you could have never imagined. There's room in the schoolhouse for everybody. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
When I do my videos, this is my little moment to say, oh, here's how you find Signature Electric, here's my phone number, here's my YouTube channel and everything, except this time I think it needs to be you. So you tell us exactly how we're going to get in touch, because people are going to be interested in learning more about learning pods, and they're going to want to follow you, and they're going to want to hear what you're up to. So how am I going to find you?
Amazing, thank you. I won't give you guys my phone number, but I'll give you my email. It's learningpodscanada@gmail.com. Our Facebook group is Learning Pods Canada. I also have a LinkedIn and an Insta, so check us out.
Perfect. Or if you just want to, we can just turn on the 6 o'clock news and you'll be right there, right?
That's true.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much.